Hello and welcome back to Warcraft Daily for today, the 17th of May. No, it's not May, it's March. Yes, the 17th of March 2014. So in today's news we have a few different things. First of all, there's a little bit of just firm information about ground mounts in Draenor, then some speculation about Blizzcon 2014 that is off the back of a bit of interesting news, and then finally I'm going to round off the show with some Twitter stuff. But before that, I'm going to pimp my Twitch stream. So basically, 2 days ago, on Saturday, I streamed on Twitch, and things went crazy. I ended up getting 200 viewers, 220 at one point, which was crazy, averaging at around 150. It was a ton of fun, and I'd really like to do it a little bit more in terms of the streaming. I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 times a week would be ideal, and I'm not too sure about times, but my twitch.tv link is in the description of the video, so do go and check that out, because streaming's a ton of fun. It's also the easiest way to interact with people. So, yeah, anyway, let's get on to the news, which is really what you're here for. So, ground mounts. Well, Corey Stockton confirmed on Twitter that all mounts, including those which previously did not work in ground-only areas, well, they will work in ground-only areas. This, of course, makes complete sense. Denying people some of the mounts that they used for an entire expansion would honestly just be a little bit crazy. And honestly, the actual change itself shouldn't require too much work in Blizzard's end. All of the mounts in the game already have a walk cycle, so it's really just a case of enabling ground movement, which basically was just not enabled in some of the older mounts. Now, some mounts like, say, the Ashes of Alar, which don't have legs, may look a little bit wonky. You'll basically just, well, you'll be floating a little bit, which, okay, sometimes it can look odd, but I think it's best just to give players the choice in that regard. So, yep, that's that bit of news. Next, we have BlizzCon 2014. This is rather interesting, actually. So, the virtual tickets site has got 2014 in the title, oddly enough, though the text in the body of the page still does say 2013. Now, March is usually the time at which they announce BlizzCon, so this could perhaps be a bit of a firm indication that there will be one this year, which honestly is rather interesting. They cancelled BlizzCon 2012 because there's basically nothing to talk about. Pandaria, I think, yeah, Pandaria had came out at that time, and, or maybe it was something like that, basically a whole bunch of expansions that came out for various games, and there wasn't that much news. Plus, they also just had a very busy year in terms of trying to get things done, so they decided that it was best just to forego doing a BlizzCon. And I think it was maybe the 2011 or 2010 BlizzCon that was, honestly, just a little bit boring in the news front, so they didn't want to repeat that mistake again. But since this is perhaps an indication that there will be a 2014 BlizzCon, well, in that case, we're probably going to get news of some sort. They don't want to repeat past mistakes, right? Now, by the time that BlizzCon 2014 arrives, Warlords of Draenor will be out. Probably. Reaper of Souls will probably, well, it will be out as well, and then Heroes of the Storm may also be out. Then, really, other than the next StarCraft 2 expansion, which is going to be Legacy of the Void, what is there that can come out? It's really hard to know what they'll actually have to talk about. So, I guess they could announce the next Diablo expansion, that would certainly make sense, and I don't think they would announce a new World of Warcraft expansion, because obviously we would still probably just be still in the first tier of Warlords of Draenor. Now, that said, they did talk previously about yearly expansions. I don't think they're quite there yet, as evidenced by the fact that Warlords of Draenor is probably going to take until September, which is a little bit longer than the late summer or the late to early summer that most people were thinking about. So maybe they're not going to hit that yearly WoW expansion sort of goal yet, which would mean that, yeah, there wouldn't be any Warlords of Draenor news to talk about, so there's that. As for Titan, well, Titan was really heavily delayed. They may talk about it, I guess, but, I don't know, just given all the delays and the fact that most of the World of Warcraft team that moved originally from Burning Crusade onto Titan, and then they moved from Titan back to Warlords of Draenor, well, they're still working in Warlords of Draenor, so I just don't expect that there will be that much news. In terms of other things, I suppose Heroes of the Storm may be out as well by that point, so they could have some minor news about it, I suppose. Then maybe a Hearthstone expansion? That really does sound like all of it. I don't think they have any other projects going on at the minute. I'll have to check out their jobs page at some point, but I think that overall it's mainly Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, WoW, Diablo, and StarCraft. Oh, yes, also, we'll probably get a new StarCraft expansion, Legacy of the Void. I imagine they will talk about it at that point, because I think, yeah, Heart of the Swarm came out this time last year, so it would certainly be about time for a new expansion to be announced, and hopefully come out relatively quickly after. It's weird with StarCraft 2. I feel like Blizzard have really squandered an opportunity with that game's success as an esport. They should have been doing things like what, say, Riot were doing with League of Legends, where they were putting on massive tournaments that were really good. Their WCS series, honestly, like WCS just butchered the competitive scene. Instead of having a year full of lots of unique and interesting tournaments, what WCS did was it coalesced it all into this weekly tournament format that people just couldn't watch. You couldn't keep up with all of WCS. It was a terrible mistake in my opinion, and really in the opinion of many viewers and team owners alike. So yeah, I don't know, maybe there'll be some sort of new StarCraft 2 initiative, but I'd be worried that it's too little too late. I mean, hell, I was looking at the IEM stream earlier on this weekend, and I don't know what the views in general have been like, but at one point they were at like, I think it was 40 to 50,000. Now, okay, that sounds pretty impressive, but like that's coming down from when StarCraft 2 used to be having stream audiences of 120,000. It really is a pity, but I guess we will never reach the 2011 heights that the game used to be at. Anyway, so that's it for Blizzcon. In terms of a date, I don't know. Probably in the fall/early winter. Actually, no, since winter is officially the end of December, which is weird to me, it's probably autumn. So, yeah, there's that. Now, let's move on to Twitter. So, first of all, we have a tweet from Mumper, aka Corey Stockton, who said that they're going to enable all mounts completely in Battlegrounds in Warlords of Draenor. So that means if you have Ashes of Alar, well, you can use it in a battleground. Now, of course, you won't be able to fly it, but it'll just still, hover about the place, look a bit weird, but they decided that it was worth just giving players the choice in that regard. This is really just in fitting with the Warlords of Draenor mount changes that they're doing, so honestly, it makes complete sense. Okay, next we have a tweet from Watcher. He said that the reason they're keeping Spirit in the game is because they feel like growing regen over time is a really great form of progression. Basically, the reason they like it is because it allows you to heal more aggressively. And what that means is that as you get more gear, your character progression actually affects your gameplay, and that is just so important to making the gearing process feel fun. As a DPS, it's pretty easy for us because we get to see, more damage per second coming out, we get to see haste, mean that we can do our rotations in a bit of a faster speed, and Spirit is just another way that they can provide this kind of nice, direct feedback to healers. Overall, very good. And just in general, getting more stats, I think that allowing you to do things, like more things per second, is a pretty good way of doing things. Of course, ensuring that things never get too spammy. But just as an example, I've been playing Dark Souls recently on PC with a few mods just to make it look not shit. And I've got to say, I've been using a two-handed sword, but I was leveling up dexterity, which, oddly enough, kind of works. Because one of the really fun things about leveling up in that game is as I've got more and more dexterity, my sword swings are faster, to the point where I can just chew through stuff when I'm trying to farm souls. So that progression model in games really does work very well, and of course it's nice to see that they recognize that for healers. I don't think there was any risk at all of Spirit being killed off, but I just thought it was worth highlighting the tweet because, well, often I like to try to give people a bit of a perspective about how game design works and how various mechanics, which on the face may not look particularly interesting, actually have a much deeper effect that does affect the core gameplay and just enhances the game. So, yeah, that's why I brought up that tweet. Next, we have a tweet from Celestalin, who said, the base number for readiness and multi-strike is going to be 0. This means that without any of these stats, you will have no readiness and you will have no multi-strike. And that's basically that. Honestly, it makes sense. I think that having these things as a base would make... I don't think it would be very good, because you'd have maybe level 85 characters just running around the place randomly multi-striking things. Now, of course, they could just limit it to level 100 characters, but in that case, what's the point in even doing that? Because they're going to get it in gear anyway, so I think just making the baseline number 0 is the right way to do things. Though it would be interesting if you could, get a multi-strike enchantment and put it on a low-level character, and it could be this kind of AoE monster. Yeah, if you had lots of multi-strike and a full set of heirloom gear that was enchanted for extra multi-strike, then perhaps you could do absolutely crazy stuff with AoE farming. Not particularly sure how that would work out, but hey, just a thought that entered my brain. Okay, so next we have a tweet from Watcher. He said when talking about Valor and Justice Points incentivizing for dungeons, basically he said that they're going to have more information in the weeks to come, but as a team they do agree that it's extremely important to have an incentive for the very end of a dungeon so that people don't bail. Now, what could that incentive be? Well, I guess it could be a gear bag that has a chance of giving you a piece of loot. And that could be good, but the one problem is that once you outgear that gear bag, what's the point in going back into the dungeon? At least now going into the dungeon will get you Valor points which can be used at endgame, so perhaps they could give... No, giving a Warforged seal would be too much. They could definitely give like the equivalent of Lesser Charms, but I honestly do not think that that would be enough. Maybe they could just have a selection of rewards, like maybe you could get some bonus, not just bonus rep, but like a large amount of rep, or something like that. They could give out a gear bag. What else could they give out? Maybe a big old wad of gold? You could do that. Maybe that would sort of get people into dungeons. Yeah, I don't know. If you have any cool ideas for what sort of things they could do to incentivize dungeons, by getting to the end of them, of course, do let me know, because obviously losing that bonus Valor and Justice points is, well, it's going to remove that sort of current element in the game. So they're definitely going to replace it. They'll have news in the next few weeks, so we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how that works. And then we have a tweet from Russ Peterson, who is one of the reward system designers over at Blizzard, and he said that the game's bonus roll bad luck protection is actually separate from tier to tier. This is something that I did not, well, I'm not going to say I didn't know, I just kind of wasn't really aware and I never really thought about it. But for those of you who are, say, worried about rolling a bonus coin in Throne of Thunder because you're worried that it'll mess up your like loot chance in Siege of Orgrimmar, that shouldn't happen apparently. So yeah, that's all pretty good news. Anyway, that's it for today's show. The last thing I'm going to do is pimp out my twitch.tv stream. Go there, hit the follow button. It'll be great because you'll get an email every time I stream. And the streams are, in my opinion, a lot of fun. The stream on Saturday was 4.5 hours, but honestly, I don't think I'll go that long again, unless it's like a Saturday or, a special sort of event or something like that. And in terms of just stream stuff in general, all I'd say is my battle ID, or not battle ID, real ID thingy is, it's for guildies and like real life people only. And don't pester my guild or people I know in game, because like this whole YouTube, Twitch thingy is like my personal thing. I don't want it to affect anyone else, because it's extremely annoying for them if random people start tweeting, or not tweeting them, whispering in-game and stuff like that. But, yeah, anyway, now that I've saved myself from possibly getting in trouble with my GM at some point, I'm gonna go, so thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.